Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports is Ordered. And before we get started, you know what I'm saying? I need to put some treble in it. Because I got with me the even kill. Born in Texas, raised in VA, representing New Jersey, Rutgers and everything. Do not bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
Mr. Logical. And then, of course, down here in the Great Alamo, via Baltimore, home of the Ravens, home of the Orioles. I am your unorthodox statistician, going left so much you thought I was southpaw. Tell Shakur to let his southpaw go. 2-5. We are Sports Reports is Ordered. Like, review, subscribe, share, do all the good things, do all the free things. Don't make me throw that throwback on for Granny. And of course, we gonna get this thing started off with Get It Off My Chest. But first, you know what I'm saying, we promised El Residente, so Mr. Logical, take a few seconds, give me your reaction to the 8 minutes of Raheem Morris that you watched on the pivot.
All right. It's called military was called a shit sandwich. You would say the positive thing, you say like the negative bit in the middle, you say the positive on the end. I'm gonna start with a shit sandwich. One thing I do like about him is he does have this ability, like a charisma, and I think he's respected. Clearly, I think he's respected in the building. I think he's taken the long route to get here. So I never really acknowledged that in the hiring. I just was kind of just all wired up and fired up about the hiring process. But that being said, the reason I only watched 8 minutes, I was driving, I go to work or whatever. He's still trying to spin this Michael Penix pick. And it's like, you didn't do anything special with that pick. Everyone just spitting out the same jargon in regards to, if you don't have a quarterback, you're dead in the water. I'm like, I get that, but you have one. Not many teams have two starting quarterbacks. That's normally a problem. The adage is, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one. You can't just be like, oh, I need to stack my team with quarterbacks. Like, no, you need to stack your team with pass rushers. Because that way, any quarterback, if you're getting Joe Flacco was getting the ball at the 40 so often in those Ravens years that it was like, yo, you get 12 yards and we're kicking a 45-yard field goal pretty much every possession, it seemed like. So I didn't like the spin. I don't like the spin. I don't like how he's trying to make it seem like it was a great move. And he was like, yeah, it's always a lot of secrets at the draft. You know, there's always a lot of surprises. And it's like, you could have got the best player available for 2024 and then still not been picking in the top 5 next year. Or you can get a guy in the second round that could turn out to be a good quarterback. You can't predict the future by making silly decisions in the present. So I was upset by that. But like I said, I'm proud of him as a black coach with a black GM. I imagine he's going to be able to keep his job for a little bit longer. I don't think it'd be the same situation like we had with Steve Wilkes and different guys where they were getting run out in 1 year. But yeah, ultimately, I'll watch the rest of the interview later. Like I think he talks. I think he talks with great passion, great enthusiasm. I think people will follow him. I just don't agree with wasting a quarterback's, because you're wasting his career too. You're wasting his time by hoping he's ready to play but doesn't play because you're paying another guy $200 million.
Yeah. So what's up with these 3-on-3 teams though?
It's silly, man. It's like dudes they pick up from D3 schools and Haley Van Liff. I don't know. I think they have too many events at the Olympics. They're trying to be too inclusive. You know, why get into the details? They're just doing too much.
Sounds familiar.
They just need to say no. Say no to some people. It's cool. We've all heard no before. No, skateboarding does not belong in the Olympics.
Yeah, verify your XYs. So here we go. We gonna get this thing started as we always do. We get it off my chest. So first and foremost, hey, don't be hating on badminton now. You know what I'm saying? Badminton is my jam.
That's
You
a
know,
that is a that is a cookout. That is a cookout sport.
you know what I'm saying? But hey, get it off my chest. Dear city of Coral Gables, stop it with the excuses. Stop it with the bullshit. Back in 2001, the Miami Hurricanes had, in my opinion, the greatest college football roster ever assembled. Sorry, LARway Adam, it's not LSU, it's Miami 2001. But anyway, so things are going on, conference realignments going down. Miami, Virginia Tech, and the gang come on to the ACC, and the clever Miami Hurricane fans say it's the All Canes Conference. All right, that was 2004. Last I look is 2024. Ain't won an ACC title yet. Ain't won one yet. You hired Mario Cristobal from Oregon because he's a local guy. He's a Miami guy. But his reputation at Oregon is in the big game, he plays it too close to the vest. Right? So what did we see last year, Mr. Logical? We saw Miami with a chance to run out the clock against Georgia Tech. They fumbled the ball, right? Okay, but they were winning. They gave up a 60-plus yard touchdown to close that game. He's 12-13 in 2 years at Miami. Lost his first 5 ACC home games. And this is the ACC. I said I did not say the SEC. I did not say the Big Ten. You know, the games that he did win, he had a 14-12 overtime thriller against the Wahoos from Charlottesville. You know, 6 points against NC State last year. He has a combined 6-10 record in the ACC. Lost 45-3 to my Seminoles. So you know what, Miami? You went out and got Cam Ward, best quarterback in the transfer portal. You went out and got Danny Martinez, best running back from the Pac-12 that used to be, rest in peace, Pac-12. So basically what I'm saying is, shit or get off the pot. No more excuses. You want to be the best? Be the best. But to beat a man, woo! You got to beat the man. Suck on it.
Yeah, I don't know how you aren't successful in Miami. It's probably an NFL, every NFL roster has an impact player from that area. Go in alphabetical order from the top of the alphabet all the way through. All 32 NFL teams probably have one, if not two players from that region that are making high impact plays on their team every single week from Miami. But yet you can't go out and get 15 or 20 of them every year for a few years. You're right there. NIL money, all the NFL players that are in the league that can come back and kick in some booster money. You can just go recruit the NFL players. Go recruit Ray Lewis. Go recruit Ed Reed. Go recruit Jimmy Graham and third leg Greg Olsen. Get these guys to come back to the program. Have them kicking $1 million in NIL bonuses or something.
Right.
You know, so you remember when they did the rap song, They Call Me Greg, Girls Want to See My Third Leg? You know what I'm saying? Like, go get Michael Irvin's probably one of the most charismatic former Hurricane players. Reggie Wayne. Get these guys in the facility and utilize all the Hall of Fame jackets that you had come out of that school and get these kids that are still good. The Miami area football is still probably the best region of football in America.
And it's actually legal for Luke to pay him now.
Get him out there. He out, like, look, Dion had dudes out in Colorado rapping. Where Trina at?
Where Rick Ross at?
Go get the baddest bitch. Do something.
Do something.
You out here trying to play it clean. Nah, you better do something.
But I will see you in Coral Gables, suckers. Do something.
All right. So now, I'm feeling like I'm gonna be a little angry today. I don't know why. All right, so my get off my chest is simple, simple, simple. They call me Mr. Logical. They say stay true to your logic, logic, stay true to you. Nick Wright, first things first. I love the show. I think it's great. I love the personalities. I love how it meshes. I love the information that does come out of the show. What I'm starting to get sick of, though, dog, is the spin. He's starting to come off like new long hair Skip Bayless. We always hated the way Skip Bayless talked about Baker Mayfield could do no wrong, Tim Tebow could do no wrong, Tom Brady could do no wrong, Dallas Cowboys could do no wrong until they disappointed him and he's throwing the jersey in the trash again. This is the Nick Wright problem that I had today. And pretty much for the past year, pretty much since Brock Purdy started playing well, he has been making these ridiculous arguments. And I get it. What he's saying is truthful. But I give you an example. When Kobe scored 81 points against the Raptors, you can congratulate him on the 81 points, or you can argue, well, he only had 2 assists. And then people go like, whoa, what are you talking about? He had 81 points. Am I lying about the 2 assists? That's a fact, right? He only had 2 assists. He does that with Brock Purdy. So it's like Brock Purdy was leading the league in passer rating, and he said it's because of the weapons. Patrick Mahomes was struggling, and it was because he didn't have weapons. So what is it? Do quarterbacks need weapons in order to get credit, or do they need to play without weapons? Because when Mahomes had a stretch last year, he wasn't throwing a lot of yards. He didn't have more passing touchdowns than Josh Allen. He didn't have more passing touchdowns than Brock Purdy. He still won the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that Brock Purdy's a better quarterback, but if your argument is, oh, well, he needs all these weapons around him, then why do you get excited when now Patrick Mahomes has new weapons where he can throw the ball deeper? Just because he can throw the ball further than Purdy, it doesn't matter what Purdy does? Or like, oh, how does he look without, his all-pro tackle? Well, how does Kansas City look in the Super Bowl without Chris Jones? Like, you need all these pieces. So the way he praises Mahomes as a fanboy and the way he criticizes Brock Purdy is like, do you not remember Brock Purdy had them up in the Super Bowl in overtime before Mahomes got the ball back? So it's not as if the 49ers went 5-12 and he was getting a lot of credit. He's in the upper echelon since he started playing with every other guy in the league at every level. Just acknowledge that. Stay true to your logic. If your logic is, I need a guy to make the plays with the guys are on the field, that's what Mahomes does. Mahomes does it with probably the worst receiving core in the league. Fine. Give him credit for that. So when he gets a better one, I don't want you out here saying, oh, look what he can do with all these weapons. Take the credit away the same way you take it away from Brock Purdy.
And let's not forget. Oh, go
The
ahead.
only reason that 70-yard bomb scores is because, Xavier Worthy ran a 4.21. So, like, keep your logic right, because he was talking about Brock Purdy throwing interceptions at practice. Well, LeBron James shot a terrible 3-pointer in the USA practice when they played against the college kids. People were posting on Twitter. He didn't say anything about that. He didn't mention how bad that shot looked and how LeBron's age is going to impact him during the Olympics. But a guy throws 4 interceptions in practice, and it's like they made it like the flagship part of the show today. It just was obnoxious. Like, stop trying to be Skip. You have a great thing going because we felt like he wasn't that much of a fanboy. Kansas City started getting more success. Now he's getting a little over the top. You have a great show. You have great dynamics. You have great guests, great chemistry. Get out of your fanboy bag and just have a conversation about sports, which he's obviously passionate about. Stick to the passion, not the passionate fan. It's obnoxious. Tag him in this.
Which is crazy, too, because when you think about it, it's like, did I not watch Brock Purdy overcome adversity? Because remember, all last season, he was talking about, hey, I want to see Brock do it when it matters. They're going to be the reason that the 49ers don't win the Super Bowl is going to be Brock Purdy. And yeah, he had a bad first half against Green Bay. He had a bad first half against Detroit. And guess what? He came back, as Mr. Logical would say. He said, I'm going to throw on this backpack, come along for the ride, and let's go make the Super Bowl. And in that Super Bowl, literally inches away, from the game-winning touchdown.
Correct.
Literally inches away from another touchdown in the first quarter that probably would have made sure it didn't go to overtime. It's a game of inches. You lost to the quarterback that he deemed as the best quarterback ever already. Correct. So, one, it defeats your logic, because if Patrick Mahomes is that much greater than Brock Purdy, why'd the game even go to overtime? Could it be that it's a team game?
That's the problem. His demonstrative viewpoint and bullet points about Brock Purdy and about Josh Allen don't apply, because when he talks about Trevor Lawrence, it's all glowing. Brock Purdy has lapped Trevor Lawrence already in 2 seasons. And impact, success. You had an NFC Championship game appearance where he got his elbow hurt. He was supposed to miss a year. He was back in 5 months. And then he went back to the Super Bowl, or he went back to the NFC Championship game, battled adversity, won that game, and was up 3 points in overtime in the Super Bowl. Not to mention he was up 3 points in the fourth quarter. Like, the game should have been over. If Joey Bosa stays home, he would have probably sacked Mahomes or tackled him and got him short, and they would have won the Super Bowl.
See, the problem is they treat Brock Purdy, the media, they treat Brock Purdy the way that they should treat Justin Herbert. Like realistically, like Brock Purdy is the modern age Rudy or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Last pick in the draft, Mr. Irrelevant, ain't even supposed to be here in the first place, leading one of, if not, the flagship franchise of the NFL.
Absolutely.
And this is the type of shit that we're reduced to. While I'm telling y'all
it makes no sense.
I'm telling y'all to like, review, and subscribe, and y'all watching this idiot for free. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, moving on. You know what I'm saying? As we continue down our NFL divisional preview road, we find ourselves on the other side of the West. Last week we did the AFC West. Now it's time to switch over to the NFC, where the 49ers have won the division in the last 2 years, but there has been a different division champ 3 out of the last 4 years. So, Mr. Logical, is somebody other than San Francisco going to win this division?
I watched Receiver that played on Netflix, and I was looking at it, and I was like, how did they not win the Super Bowl last year? Like, I get that, Mahomes is magical, but just based off where at every level, I understand the Greenlaw injury played a major role, but they're elite at every level, everywhere. Even Shanahan, like, people give Shanahan a lot of heat, but it still takes a lot to get back to the Super Bowl, especially after you lose. It takes a lot to kind of hold on to your team when you've had a losing run, and then you make the bad draft pick, but then you get this other guy that's playing well, and you get him to play better. They're just elite at so many levels. It surprises me that they didn't win a Super Bowl. But I can't, barring injury, I can't see anybody else winning this division. I don't see. Someone has to have 11 or 12 wins besides San Francisco in this division. I don't see 2 teams in this division, because San Francisco is going to get their wins just off attrition, just off of Fred Warner breaking up your stuff in your run game, and then covering tightening up the seam, and your wide receiver that's on a drag route. Just him alone, he's going to wreck 3 levels of your offensive strategy by himself. And he's not out there by himself. So I can't see another team that has those many playmakers. Zafunga coming back, and then you had the backup safety that played a lot of games last year. That's going to have more experience, played all the way through the Super Bowl. I'm not sure with the Greenlaw injury. I don't know if he's in a walking boot yet, if you're clear for contact. But eventually, He should be back. I just don't see another team being able to get to 11 or 12 wins because that's what it's going to take. At least 11 wins to win the division, and I don't see the other three teams getting 11.
So you remember what I said? I know you don't, but you remember what I said when we previewed the Chargers Jaguars playoff game?
Yeah, no, I don't remember that at
Yeah,
all.
you don't remember that at all. I said that Trevor Lawrence or Jacksonville was going to win that game because Trevor Lawrence was going to kill the Chargers' death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Correct.
So I can't necessarily disagree with you per se, but I feel like San Francisco is starting to have some paper cuts.
You talking about like the strife with the contracts and everything else?
No, I'm talking about the players that they lost this offseason. You know what I mean? So obviously Chase Young was a mid-season pickup, trade deadline pickup. He's gone, even though, you know, we talk about his lack of motor, his lack of effort, XYZ, whatever the case may be. You add him to the rest of that defense and you got some ingredients because you're not relying on him to necessarily be the guy. But they also lost Randy Gregory. They also lost Colin Farrell. Cleveland Farrell. They also lost Kinlaw. You know what I'm saying? They lost Eric Armstead. So, like, I'm not saying that.
I'll give you the Armstead piece. The other three guys were journeymen who were considered underachievers. That's how they got them there.
Right, but it's depth.
Depth versus impact.
You know what I'm saying? You still need both.
They had bodies, but those guys didn't make any impact.
Gregory hasn't made an impact. The NFL is a war of attrition. You know what I mean? You need those bodies. You know what I mean? Maybe you did get Leonard Floyd, you know, so I do like that pickup. You know, I like Malik Collins. I definitely love, you know, one of my draft sleepers, Renardo Green, you know, because I've always said that the 49ers could improve at the corner position. That was like the one, and it's not as if the 49ers have this great offensive line either. But what they do have, like you said, is a smart coach. You know, they have the receiver, Deebo Samuel, who led the league in yak last season.
4 out of the last 5 years.
to your point about Brock Purdy, you know, NFL record passer rating last year and yards per attempt. NFL history, I said. Did you hear me, Nick Wright?
He had more yards per attempt than Patrick Mahomes.
Than Tua, who has Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and those track stars that we always talk about. You know, now,
and I think Patrick's great, and that's the not, and that's why I think the advantage goes to San Francisco is because you talk about the players they lost and the smart coaches and the offensive line. They have so many playmakers.
They do,
and their strategy and their scheme is not necessarily plug and play, but you know exactly what you're going to get from San Francisco.
So how do you see this before we move forward? How do you feel about this Ayuk thing playing out?
Well, he doesn't have any leverage.
He doesn't.
The only way for him to get paid even by another team is to play. He has to show that he's the number one guy because he wants number one guy money.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is hard. It's hard to stand out when you're in the Jackson 5 unless you're Michael Jackson.
Right.
And if you're Tito, Jermaine, like that might just be your place. But he has to play like a number one guy. And I'm not sure that he is viewed as a number one receiver because that the offensive package comes at you like a conglomerate. Everybody is like the offense is number one. So I'm not sure if I don't know what he can do to show I'm a number one wide receiver when like the whole offensive scheme is just so massive. And then you can have game plans where CMC is getting, like in the Super Bowl, he had 80 yards rushing, 80 yards receiving in a touchdown.
Sounds like my MVP.
He had like 30 touches. You know what I mean? So Ayuk's never going to get 30 catches.
Led the league in rushing last year, had over 2,000 scrimmage yards. And, but so I agree that the 49ers are going to win the division. Their schedule, they got the first place schedule, is a little out there. And that was my point, Rez, is that, like, I think that you guys have the ability to be better as well, but, health, and I know last year was an abnormal healthy year for the 49ers, so obviously I'm not going to do the what if thing and say, hey, the 49ers are going to have injuries this year, but the lack of depth, to some degree. They did have Nick Sorensen take over as DC for Steve Wilkes, and I wonder, does their defense look more like they did with D'Amico or like they did with Wilkes? Either way, it works, right? They were third in points per game given up last year. They averaged on offense 28.9. So, but looking at their schedule, they got the big Monday night game opening up with the Jets, right? They are going to eat Aaron Rodgers' food.
Yeah.
They go to Minnesota, where they did lose last year, but Kirk Cousins ain't there.
Correct.
Then they go to the Rams. Then I like it for a few weeks. New England, Arizona, at Seattle. Even though at Seattle's always tricky, they've won the last 5 against Seattle, so I'll let it slide. Then they come home for Kansas City and Dallas. So that's my takeaway from San Francisco's schedule. They have these 2 game increments in their schedule, like this Kansas City, Dallas. But then in weeks 12 and 13, at Green Bay, at Buffalo, back to back. Week 15, Rams, at Miami, and then you add on a Monday night game with Detroit in week 17. Beyond that, I don't have a problem with this schedule if I'm the 49ers.
Yeah, I think you're gonna get 2 tune-up games essentially, because you're either gonna get Sam Darnold or JJ McCarthy, and you're gonna get a pretty much a makeshift offensive line and with the Jets. And the Jets aren't even sure if Aaron Rodgers is going to play any preseason games. So his first snap is going to be potentially on that Monday night against San Francisco in, Santa Clara. So it's going to be nearly, what are we looking at, 22 months, 21 months from the last time he's played a full game.
If the Niners, after the game against Dallas in week 8, I fully expect the 49ers to be no worse than 6-2. And I would even venture to say I expect them to be 7-1.
That doesn't seem unrealistic.
Because I got them losing the early game at the Rams. Outside of that, you might get in, like, they own Dallas. We've already talked about that. So the game against Kansas City is going to be interesting because it seems that San Francisco, it's almost like Buffalo. San Francisco whoops Kansas City in the regular season. And then when we get to the postseason, Michael Myers always comes back. And then you look at it. So you go at Tampa after the bye week. That's not scary. Home against Seattle. Then you get your 2-game stretch I was talking about with Green Bay and Buffalo on the road. It is December 1st, so Buffalo could be kind of tricky.
Swirling winds might not work well. I don't think Brock Purdy has the strongest arm, but I don't think his arm is a liability arm.
Right.
But those swirling
so how would you compare his arm to Tua's?
It's above Tua. I think Tua probably has one of the weaker arms of starting quarterbacks.
Okay.
You had to rank him. He's definitely not a Brett Favre thrower. But I think Brock Purdy, and on top of that, the way they don't throw a lot of like deep routes. They throw that's why Debo leads the league in yak so often, because he hits them short and lets them do the work, which is it's what the receiver wants to do, and it's what the quarterback wants to do. It's what the coach wants to do. But when people want to discredit him for it, they use the fact that he threw it short and got to take it a long way. That's what I don't care. I don't care. The ball can get ricocheted off of a defender's helmet, and my center for the Falcons could catch it. If he ran it 37 yards and scored a touchdown, I'm good with it. I don't care. I don't care how the ball gets in the end zone. They can fumble Ruski to shit all the way down the field. I don't care. I just want the points. And that's all that teams care about. It's like, I don't care how we win, as long as we do it legally and we win and we end the game with one more point than the other people who came here to do their job. And that's what the 49ers do.
If this wasn't the NFL, I would pick the 49ers to go 14-3. But it
But
is
it's
the
the
NFL.
NFL,
It is
so
the NFL. So I'm gonna pick the 49ers to go 12-5.
yeah. The thing is, it's gonna have to be one of those fluky games like they lost last year against Minnesota. No one probably projected that. The Cleveland game probably wasn't expecting them to lose that, but then as the season played out, and Cleveland's like top 3 in total defense.
Well, like
One
the
of the
way,
Rams games, the Rams games,
and I mean
I want to say
realistically, the
they'll split.
49ers realistically the 49ers own the Rams too.
It's a weird dynamic out there because the Rams should not have been good last year,
Yeah, we both
and
got yeah.
yeah, we had them at like I think we had the Rams and Tampa Bay at a combined something like 8 and like
8
8
and
and 27,
26 or something.
8 and 27, and they both made the playoffs and won playoff games.
Yeah.
Or
So,
both made the
so,
playoffs. So
so
like
like
we could
looking
be
at
wrong.
looking at this schedule, right? Like I said, I picked them to lose at the Rams. I look at, you always got to give Kansas City a chance.
Correct.
No, that's exactly right, Rez, and that's why I say like y'all own the Rams. Like the Rams beat y'all that time without the starters, and they beat you in the NFC Championship game when Tart, as we always mention, dropped the interceptions. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, the 49ers own the Rams as far as I'm concerned. But I'm picking the Rams in week 3. You always got to give Kansas City a chance, though I think 49ers will get them since it's the regular
So
season.
that's your 6-2 after 8 weeks.
Oh, no, I got them 7-1. I got them 7-1. The Rams is the only one that I'm calling. I'm just saying that when
You
when
think the Chiefs? You think the Chief is going to be like the Buffalo situation where you catch the Chiefs in the regular season and you get
yeah, and it's at home.
27-24.
And it's at home. If it was at Arrowhead, maybe I would feel a little different. You
And the
know,
Chiefs are probably this is probably one of those weeks. Hopefully it isn't where it's an odd amount of time off. Like one of those like 8 or 9 or 10 day gaps that they have multiple times throughout the year. It
yeah,
might be one of those. So it could be, a situation where it's rust versus rhythm
yeah.
and they get 10 days off and they're coming into the building and you're fired up because you just played. Well, actually the 49ers are going to have 10 days off.
That I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go ahead and be the bad guy here, and I'm gonna pick the 49ers to lose both games. At Buffalo and at Green Bay. I'm gonna pick them to lose to Miami, and then that's where you get your like, hey, season's over, we're headed to the playoffs, and you lose to Arizona because you sat your starters or something along those lines. So that's my 12-5. I don't know,
I
coach.
mean,
I don't know, coach. We'll get there. We'll get there.
I don't weak.
We'll get there. But like, yeah, so like, unless the 49ers defense just bottoms out, which won't happen.
If they are all available, they will be top 5 total
but
defense.
but of course, I mean, needless to say, they better do it this year.
Unless they can work some super contract magic, or I don't know, because I think Purdy is going to be one of those guys that gives you the Mahomes deal, the 8-year deal where it's 8 years, 300 million or something like that, and they keep moving the money around. He's going to give him some kind of team friendly deal that helps him out because he knows you need weapons, and when you have a team where you have that many weapons and they're young and it's not like pieced together. It's not like they went and got, like, for instance, Chicago. Chicago's weapons are you got a rookie, you got an older veteran, you got a guy you drafted for last year that played with a different quarterback, and you bring in this new rookie quarterback, and then you have the tight end that's been there for a while. Yeah, on paper, on Madden, that looks legit. That looks like, oh, I'm winning this game 31-17. But in real life, you need that cohesiveness. You need that unity. Whereas San Francisco, they have Debo, they have Ayuk, they have Kittle. those guys are already a unit. You have Trent Williams, who already knows what Shanahan likes to call. You have like that continuity.
And don't forget, you're adding Ricky Pearsall to that stew.
But I mean, I don't know how much you're going to get out of like a young rookie.
No, but you don't need a lot out of them. But I'm just saying that's just another weapon.
And you still signed Juwan Jennings to like a real nice team deal.
Big play, Juwan, almost Super Bowl MVP. Juwan.
He would have been Super MVP because he would have, if Brock Purdy had a little bit more time, I think through the progression, Jennings would have been the guy open because the other two guys were being mugged like on the outside. So I think he would have been the guy that would have been able to like maybe scramble out and get, those extra little yards. I think he could have ended the game. He could have ended the game like 80-something yards, and I think he would have been either been him or CMC.
Right. Yeah, so I like the 49ers, but I don't know. So, real quick, just to throw this bow on it, for Nick Wright, I got one more for you, Nick. So, this is the list of quarterbacks that have thrown for 30 touchdowns and 4,000 yards in their first season as a full-time starter. Ready? Jordan Love, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Kurt Warner, Brock effing Purdy. There you have it. You know what I'm saying? So now, as we take it over to LA, to talk about the Rams. Last year, we both came on here. We thought the Rams were going to be just straight up terrible.
Watched it.
Cooper Kupp was coming off an injury. Stafford was having elbow and arm issues. The defense we thought was going to be awful. I mean, it wasn't that good, but it wasn't quite awful. But this year, something's missing, and it goes by the name of Aaron Donald. You can never replace something like that, no matter how hard you try.
He'll be back by week 6, though.
But the Rams did go out here and draft both of my guys. Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. So we'll see how long it takes them to adjust.
Did you see their draft video? You didn't see the video? I'll find it on Twitter and send it to you. They got out. They tried to have what's the guy? The black guy that got drafted. I'm sorry. Braden Fisk.
Jared Verse is the black guy.
Yeah. So they tried to have him get to the facility and call Brayton. But he got stuck in traffic, so they had to make the call, and they called him. So when they called him, he came in, and they were like, "Hey, guess what? Guess who's on the phone?" And they gave him the phone, and like they were talking on the phone, and like both of them just started crying. It was a real like sincere moment. It was like, "Man, I can't wait to play with you again." Like, Kim, they just finished playing like a few months ago,
right?
And you probably think like, "Yo, this is it. We're going to the league. Gonna be another team."
I mean,
you come
neither
in.
one of them was crying to play in that Orange Bowl against Georgia, though.
Because they didn't want to lose that potential to get drafted by the same team. So now they're on the same team. I like that. I'm a big fan of continuity because I just think like it's subtleties and continuity that you can't coach. You can't defend. You can't coach. Like if I remember like I played flag
football. That's why
Stockton
and Malone were so good.
Exactly. I remember I played flag football. I'm like, I've never been a quarterback at any level other than like the 2 years I played like flag football for fun. And me and this guy were like, "Yo, touchdown play." Where it just basically was like a post corner route. It just that I knew where he was gonna be, and he would hit the post. He put his left foot in the ground, and I let the ball go. Defense jumps it, and he hit the corner. He caught it every time. Every time. No, and all it was, I wouldn't even call any plays for anybody else. I was like, "Yo, touchdown play." He's like, "Okay," and he run that route, and it would work every time because I just knew he's gonna stab his foot in the ground, and just let the ball go. He was going to make it look good. So that was the continuity piece. And I think that helps. I think not panicking in LA because it's probably easy to panic. You win a Super Bowl and you get close and you lose pieces and guys want money. Like soon as Jalen Ramsey wanted money, like, listen, trade him. What can we get? Like trade him. Let's build this team back up. Because first it was F them picks.
Right. But now that they are actually making the picks, they show that they might actually know what they're doing, because they went out and got Byron Young. They went out and got Kobe Turner. Kobe Turner, remember, we had our conversation. He was my defensive rookie of the year. You know,
Correct.
obviously he didn't win the award. Will Anderson, congratulations. But combined, you know, Kobe Turner and Byron Young last year, 17 sacks, 35 quarterback hits, and 16 tackles for loss combined. You know, so you're starting with a foundation. So if those rookies, Fisk and Verse, can put something together, and oh, by the way, the Rams said, you know what? Let us go get a secondary. You know, we got to go up against Detroit in the playoffs. We open in week 1 against Detroit. Let's go get Darius Williams from Jacksonville. You know, let's go get Cameron Curl from the artist formerly known as Redskin. You know, let's go get Tre'Davious White, even though he's coming off of the ACL injury. You know, it happened early enough last season that I think he'll be on the field week 1. So the Rams addressed their weaknesses because they had one of the worst secondaries in the league. So at the very least, you know, maybe you will see how it works out, but I like that. So as I play it forward, Kyren Williams, the 3rd leading rusher in the league, and what's even more impressive about that is I talked about Christian McCaffrey, how he had X amount more yards than Derrick Henry, even though he had like 100 and something less carries. You know, Kyren Williams was the 3rd leading rusher and only played 12 games. You know, so now the Rams have
got to give Sean McVay his flowers. He just knows what he's doing.
Yeah, the Rams now have a balance that they didn't have. You know, so that's scary within itself if Matt Stafford can stay healthy. Puka Nacua, you know what I'm saying, goes without saying. Best rookie receiver, well, rookie receiving season, you know, for a rookie ever. You know, 1,486 yards on 105 catches. You know, both the most ever. Hopefully, Darius Robinson can step into the 3rd receiver slot for them. But this is the one. So in the 8 games that Stafford, Pua, Cooper Kupp, and Kyren Williams all played together last year, 6-2. Now, the question overarching in this division, Mr. Logical about to get mad. The question overarching in this division, it comes down to the offensive lines, right? Because as I was looking at Pro Football Focus,
love that website.
You know what I'm saying? I was looking at it, and I was looking at their rankings for the top offensive lines in the league this year. They have
this coming year or
this coming year.
They're projected.
Yeah, they're projecting. They projected the Rams as the 16th best offensive line in the league. What's crazy about that is that makes them the best offensive line in the division, going off of, so who can protect the quarterback will go a long way into determining how this division.
I really got to see this grading rubric that they use that says that San Francisco, with all that success, with an undersized quarterback, an undersized running back, I think they're obviously the tight ends are normally your biggest wide receivers, but not like they don't have a DK Metcalf outside wide receiver threat, and they don't have a bruising running back like a free man.
They got people leading the league in yak and stuff like that.
But that's what I'm saying.
Get it out quick.
But yeah, your offensive line, they have to get some credit for that. Like, that's what I'm saying. What's the rubric? Is you have the leading rusher in the league, and then you have the guy who led the league in yak, and then you got a 6-foot tall quarterback standing back there, and your offensive line isn't top 15. It doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know what.
If I remember correctly, they were 23 or 24.
I got it. They got to be something else.
So looking,
I don't know what they're using.
So looking at this schedule, right? The Rams, if I had to define their schedule, I would say toss-up central. They got so many toss-ups, you know. So like starting out at Detroit, where it all ended last year. You know, at Arizona, week 2 is going to be big. You know, Kyler Murray's back; he's ready to play a full season now. You know, San Francisco week 3, like I had mentioned before, you know, I picked San Francisco to lose that game. At Chicago, home against Green Bay. So if they start 3-2, it's not time to panic. You know, because you're assuming that those losses come at Detroit, and then maybe they lost to San Francisco. Maybe they lose to Green Bay because on some of these streets, Jordan Love is a top 5 quarterback.
It's paid like one.
They go into their bye week, and then it gets real good for a couple of weeks, right? Raiders at home, Vikings at home, at Seattle, but they've won 5 out of the last 7 against Seattle. Home for Miami on Monday Night Football. At New England, home versus Philadelphia. At the House of Horrors, as I like to call it, New Orleans. Buffalo at home, and this is where it gets tough. But week 14, Buffalo at home, at San Francisco, at the Jets, and then you close out with the 2 division games, Arizona and Seattle. So, so from that standpoint, when I look at the Rams schedule, I see them in a lot of games that could be 1-score games coming down to the wire. Who makes the play? I'm just going to trust Sean McVay to get it right more than not. So I'm going to settle on 10-7.
10-7 sounds good. Just because you have to lose something because you don't have Aaron Donald.
Right.
You gotta, whereas you have Aaron Donald and you have all these other pieces, and you were able. Can you imagine if they would have kept Aaron Donald and drafted these other new defensive pieces?
Right.
And been able to plug and play in all these guys. So it would have been quite a spectacle. I have a feeling that he might be able to come back. I don't know what the retirement rules are or the roster management rules, but I'm pretty sure if he comes back, he's still under contract with them. So it might be one of those MJ comes back with the 45. Aaron Donald comes out the gate week 9 and finishes the season, but he stays in shape.
Aaron Donald comes through with the 96.
Yeah. and there's it's somebody will whisper, 96 is not like 99, and he comes back out of the tunnel with the 99. The whole thing.
Yeah, and then you'll have somebody like the Pittsburgh Steelers retire his number.
Yeah. So it'll be bananas. So it's I like the Rams. Like I said, last year I was so off, and you're right there with me. I'm not gonna be in this island by myself. That it's as the facts change, so does my opinion. The fact changed. Sean McVay's a good coach. I thought it was fool's gold. I thought it was just all hype in front.
Well, I just thought he was 1 foot out, because every time they don't win the Super Bowl, we hear
he was ready to
go.
He's
going to go TV. So I just took it as Ben Roethlisberger, right? You can't be 1 foot in. You know what I mean? You either here or you're not. And so that's
Aaron Rodgers was the one foot out the door in Green Bay for so many years. It just was masked up because he kept winning MVP. I think for Sean McVay, to me, it didn't mask it up. It just kind of highlighted how good of a coach he really is. Because I think a lot of people that were seeing the predictions were 5-12. I think some was respectfully out of his, for his character, they'd call it 6-11. Me and you had 4-13. Mm-hmm. Just thinking there's no way Stafford was going to be healthy. His elbows all messed up. And he comes out there throwing no-look passes. And I was like, okay, yeah, they'll be all right.
Yep. So, all right, where you want to go next?
Because real quick, I hate this NFL new kickoff rule. I'm just throwing it out there, watching the game right now, a Hall of Fame game in Canton, Ohio. I think it's dumb.
I hate the fact that you have to announce your onside kick.
I think the whole thing is dumb.
Just play football, man.
Go back to what it was.
Just play football.
Don't bring back the wedge. The wedge is what's killing people.
Hey, you remember Troy Aikman on Monday Night Football when Mahomes fumbled and they called the roughing on him, or I was gonna go out there and put some skirt dresses on him.
Oh yeah, can't say anything like that. Can't offend the alphabet community.
You know what I'm saying? But
everybody want to be equal till the jokes come.
But yes, I don't know where you want to go next, but I will let you know that I am picking Arizona to finish 3rd in this division, not Seattle. So I'll let you choose where we go next.
Let's see. Let's go. Arizona. Let's
go with.
Why do you have them 3rd? I don't know. I just don't like the maturity in the building.
No, I agree with that. That's going to be so the problem is that obviously they're young, right? So you have the degrees of variance. You know what I'm saying? That's the problem. The Cardinals, I feel, are either 5-12 or something along the lines of 7-10 or 8-9. It just depends on how it all gels. Now, to use logic, if you will, going back to last season, they played 9 games with Joshua Dobbs, Colt McCoy, and something called Clayton Tune, and Granted, they didn't have a winning record in those games by any means. But you know what they did? They beat the Cowboys in week 2. They
Yo,
had
I lost my elimination because I was gonna be like, that's a layup.
yeah.
Taking Dallas and just like, yep, I
They,
survived.
they
I was done.
they had a lead. I don't know how they blew this lead, but they had a 21-0 lead on the Giants, that they blew at home, lost by 3 points, right? So the season goes on. Kyler Murray comes back. They go 3-5 in his return. 2 of those wins at Philly, at Pittsburgh.
35 points on Philly.
35 points on Philly.
Normally when you're a bad team and you beat a good team, fluky is like, oh, the better team had an off offensive night and you happen to catch them 21-17 or something like that. But to put 35 on them at Philly, when they were in the middle of that slump, it was like, okay, this is a slump buster. You get the Cardinals coming in with their starting quarterback that just got back. You would have thought that was going to work out in their favor, and it didn't.
Yeah, and they were a field goal away from being 4-4 in a game that they led Seattle the whole way with Seattle's playoff life on the line. So I learned that Kyler Murray might just be a little bit better than I had originally given him credit for. They went out and went into the draft. They went and got a guy, son of a legend, Marvin Harrison Jr.
Can't buy his jersey yet, though.
You can't even buy his jersey yet. But you know what? When it goes on sale, I might be there. They got my guy, Michael Wilson. No bias there, but they got Michael Wilson out of the University of Stanford. They got James Conner, finished 6th in rushing last year. And like I said, this is with Josh Dobbs, Clayton Tune playing football at quarterback for most of these games. So what did they do? They went in the draft. They went and got my guy, Trey Benson, saying who's going to be the next in this little lineage of the whole Dalvin Cook, Cam Akers, all the way back to Edgar Bennett and Warwick Dunn. Florida State, we do these things. So, because James Conner is going to miss a game or two.
Correct.
So I like that pickup. They went and got a guy from Rutgers at corner in the draft that I like a lot. Max Melton. Max Melton
in the building.
Yes. They went and picked up Murphy Bunting, from Tennessee. Even though I still remember him for getting away with pass interference against Green Bay in that NFC title game, but whatever. That's in the past. Now, these are the problems with the Cardinals. They were last in rush defense. You know what I mean? That matters, right? Jonathan Gannon, year 2. So defensive coach, I feel like it takes a season or 2 to get your defensive system implemented, like you talk about continuity. So now a lot of these players have had a year in that system. So now they know what coach is looking for. Hopefully he giving better speeches this year.
Yeah, I was about to say, hoping they don't film his opening speech this year.
Hopefully he's giving better speeches this year. And, so I just like where the Cardinals are building. Now, what I don't like the fact that they traded Rondell Moore to bring in Desmond Ridder. I don't like that Hollywood Brown is gone.
That dude's never going to be happy anywhere.
But I do like Trey McBride, who at times last year, and this is where having Marvin Harrison helps. Last year, there were times where teams were putting corners on Trey McBride, and he's the tight end, but he ain't like Gronk or Tony Gonzalez or somebody like that. But their receiving core was so bad, and he was so good that they could do that. So now you can't do that because now you need your best corner on Marvin Harrison.
You got Zay Jones.
You got Zay Jones, good pickup there. So when I look at Arizona, I just feel they did a lot more better things than Seattle did. So it's not even necessarily one of those things where I'm trying to big up Arizona. I just don't believe in Seattle that much.
Seattle's a hard team to root for because there's no reason to dislike them. They don't have the personalities that they don't like. I can see why people don't like Dallas. I can see why people don't like Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. I can see how people don't like Giants fans. I can see how people don't like Kansas City's fans, or even I can.
We don't mind Kansas City fans, just Nick Wright.
Well, some people are like, because they just kind of came out of nowhere and became Kansas City fans. But Seattle was just like, they're just a good team. They run hard. They play hard. They've always played good defense. Pete Carroll was a likable guy. So having McDonald there, defensive coordinator. And I know it's this adage that, oh, you want to get an offensive-minded head coach. Like, nah, you really want a good offensive coordinator.
Oh, yeah, we're going to get to that. Don't step on my point later. I'm bringing that up later.
Yeah.
Let us get there.
Arizona, bringing back Kyler Murray. If he was 6'3", it'd be
lights out.
Yeah, it'd be nothing you could do. You couldn't stop him. We talked about him all the time.
It's hard to yell when the barrel's in your mouth.
Three straight Texas high school championships, Heisman Trophy. He was undefeated. I mean, drafted in baseball, so he's a proven winner. I just don't know if all the winning that he had, and he got to the league, and they had a good year. I think they went 11-5 one year, made the playoffs. He didn't have a good playoff game. And then they had the contract dispute and the Instagram and everything else. I'm just not sure that he's a force multiplier with the team. And because this regime didn't draft him, is it going to be a situation where he has a couple of bad games and it's like, do you bench him, or is that consideration? I know Desmond Ritter's not a good option, but does he have the maturity to be potentially on another bad season? Because you say you got him third, but you got him like third, maybe 7 wins.
Yeah, I got him 7-10.
Okay.
I got him 7-10, but a lot of that is because I don't believe in Seattle. So one thing that I do like about Seattle, you know what I mean? Even though you tried to step on my point right there, they went and got Ryan Grubb as their offensive coordinator. They went and got Ryan Grubb as their offensive coordinator, who you will know as Michael Penix's offensive coordinator, at the University of Washington. So, so I do like that.
State.
So I do like that. He'll make Geno look better than Geno is, because I don't think Geno's very good. Then you will have Jackson Smith and Jigba in year 2, who may end up being the Jalen McMillan, taking it back to Washington. He'll be the Jalen McMillan in that offense. Tyler Lockett's 32 now, so we'll see if he lost a step on the outside or not. Obviously DK Metcalf speaks for itself. I have questions about the running back. Is Zach Charbonnet the better running back? Kenneth Walker's more elusive, but Charbonnet is more consistent and healthier, I guess. But looking at the head coach, you got to give them the credit. As Mr. Logical always says, you don't want to be the guy that replaces the legend.
Correct.
You want to be the guy that replaced the guy that replaced the legend.
Correct, because that's like a step up.
So Seattle just went from the oldest head coach in the league to the youngest head coach in the league, which is cool when you're talking about offense sometimes. Maybe not defense sometimes. But if you're going to hire a defensive coach, this is the defensive coach to hire. He was the defensive coordinator in Baltimore the last 2 years. He was the defensive coordinator at Michigan before that, and when he was the defensive coordinator in Baltimore last year in particular, Baltimore became the first team ever to lead the league in points per game, sacks, and takeaways in the same season. And what makes that so beautiful is that Baltimore was one of the lower blitz rate teams in the league.
Because they can get them home with
they
4.
Just got them home.
They can just get home, yeah.
But can Seattle do that? They did draft Byron Murphy out of Texas, who you'll remember as Tavondre Sweat's partner in crime. So we'll see how that works out. I do like their secondary, Witherspoon, Woolen. So we'll see.
Says he's the fastest guy in the league.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I messed that up. Melton actually went to Seattle, not Arizona. My bad. They brought in Sam Howell and his 21 interceptions. We thought that I thought he might push Geno for the job, but they saying like he ain't leave the picks in Maryland. He brought those out to the West Coast with him. So when I look at Seattle, they've been a team that has been trying to fight through offensive line issues for years and years upon years. You're switching offensive systems with a non-elite quarterback.
Correct.
I'm not saying it's a recipe for disaster, but I'm just not sold on Seattle.
I mean, I can understand that. Geno Smith does give you pause sometimes, but he has put together a couple of good seasons. They have him on a good contract. I think it's like maybe like $35 million a year, considering that guys are getting $55 million off of an 8-game stretch they had last season, or a guy that you didn't want to keep all of a sudden getting $55 million. So Geno's on a good deal. He's been tested. He's been counted out, and I just feel like that's enough. Sam Howell, I don't know if he's going to push him for the job because, like you say, he brought those interceptions with him from one Washington to the other Washington. But I do like I like the fact that they have quality running backs, especially with the defensive head coach, because yes, you have a good offense coordinator, ran a great system with the Huskies, but the defensive head coach is going to kind of tailor it like the way Harbaugh does it. Like, all right, listen, we're going to try to get 4 yards, 5 yards. We don't need to go for bombs. And then you still have DK and you still got Jackson Smith and Jigma. So you don't need to throw the ball 45 times a game. But when you need a big play, you have 3 big play wide receivers. Tyler Lockett, I don't know how he gets his toes down on some of these catches in the back corner and the end line of the end zone, but he just does. And then DK is DK. Just the speed size combination. So you'll be able to make big plays within that offense and still kind of maintain like a great balance between ensuring the defense isn't put in a raw position by throwing the ball too much quick. Like they go to the bench and then you get a quick 3 and out. Now they're already back in the game. So I like Seattle. I like Seattle more than Arizona.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I think Seattle has an identity, even though the Legion of Boom is long gone, I think that's still in the building, like trying to get to that level of defense. And then when you bring a guy in who coached Baltimore that's had a defensive identity ever since they went from the Browns to the Ravens and they drafted defensive players, I like that. I like the marriage of those two concepts. More than what you have in Arizona, because Arizona seems like you have some pieces, but I don't know what kind of, you have this puzzle, but I don't know what the puzzle piece is going to show at the end. But
right.
Seattle, I know if they're going to lean on defense, they already have 2 outstanding corners. Like I said, the speed to close on, any wide receiver. He can cover any wide receiver in the league. I believe he led the league as a rookie with interceptions.
Well, he did have some issues last year. He was in and out the lineup due to performance, but I really absolutely love Witherspoon, and Witherspoon will come up and hit you too. So back to your point about the Legion of Boom. Yeah. So but when I look at this division overall, just putting a bow on it, the problem with Arizona is going to be the start of the season. So, so you're going to have to rely on overcoming that adversity and pulling off some upsets, because they open up at Buffalo, Rams at home, Detroit at home. So you could easily be facing 0-3. You know what I mean? Then you get Washington at San Francisco at Green Bay. Then after that, it gets semi-easier. You get the Chargers at home, which is a Monday night game, looks like, for some strange reason.
It might be one of those weeks where they have 2 and they have an East Coast game and a West Coast game.
Well, yeah, it does say it's on ESPN Plus, so that could be it.
It's sad that we peg that out. Just hope you saying, I don't know what it's Monday night game. It's probably the throw-in West Coast game.
Yeah, at Miami, Chicago at home, the Jets bye week, at Seattle, at Minnesota, Seattle, New England, at Carolina, at the Rams, and close with San Francisco at home. So, it's definitely going to be tough sledding, and they're going to have to overcome a slow, hard start, unless they pull off one of those upsets. Like I said, against Buffalo, I don't know what we're going to get from Buffalo out the gate.
It's gonna be tough. They definitely didn't make enough. I don't think they made enough playmaker moves, but it looks like it's gonna shape out to be Josh Allen do all these things and lead us. Like we
Can you
need you
be
to.
Josh Allen? Can you be more Cam Newton than Brett Favre?
No. Can you be Cam and Brett?
There you go.
Because that's because their roster moves dictate to me. Like that's what I think they expect.
And
Like
word on the
this
street
guy's
is they
gonna be
might
doing
cut your
everything.
boy. They might cut your boy MVS.
I mean, he does lift right out if you think about it.
I'll never forgive him for that drop on Monday Night Football last year.
I mean, I get it. I get that you dropped the ball. I just don't like the pressure, like when you drop the ball.
Right. I mean, but he did make the catch to put Baltimore away.
Which yeah. So
yeah,
I'm glad he
feast of
went back to
famine,
him.
right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As far as Seattle goes, looking at Seattle schedule, saying they kind of have that Ram schedule where it's like the whole toss up schedule where most of your games are going to come down to the last 2 or 3 possessions of the game. So they open with Denver at New England, so you like that. You know what I mean? Then
Yeah.
they play Miami at home, at Detroit, Giants, 49ers at home, at Atlanta, Buffalo, Rams. Both of those are at home. Bye week at San Francisco. So if you're keeping attention at home there, week 6, home against San Francisco, at Atlanta, home for Buffalo, home for the Rams, bye week, right back into Santa Clara. Then you get Arizona at home, at the Jets, at Arizona, Green Bay at home, Minnesota at home, and then you close at Chicago, at the Rams. So there's a lot that can be maneuvered here
Yeah.
if the Seahawks can gel.
If their defense can gel, I think you can come out weeks 1 through 7, 4-4-3 after 7 weeks.
That would be a great start.
Because I can, like I said, if it gels, Denver, New England, that's 2-0.
Like I said, I would like to think that Grubb is going to make things easier for Gino. Take away some of the risk, that he
But they,
played with last year.
I think they have better pieces offensively than Arizona does.
They do,
And
to some degree. I mean, they got DK, obviously. You know what I mean? I think the running game is about even. And oh, by the way, remember when I said Arizona was 31st against the rush? Well, Seattle was 30th.
they need to work on that. But like we feel, like you said, we fell through the draft. They have cover corners, and they have a cover corner that likes to come up and tackle. That's very Richard Sherman like. You get your back end squared away. I think they're trying to probably build back towards that league because it's a simple concept. Jim Harbaugh is going to do what he did with San Francisco and LA because, like, listen, you win up front, you can win games. Seattle's probably going to try to mimic that Legion of Boom era where it has, like, listen, we have corners that are, I think Tyreek Williams like probably like 6'2", 6'3", long rangy corner. Then you have the hard tackling corner. That's your Brandon Browner and your Richard Sherman combination. So I like what they could do. I think you might even be able to squeeze one out of Miami if you
Maybe it's
get the
at home.
Tua. It's at home. You get the Tua. That stadium is one of the loudest, and it's designed to be the loudest. Like it's designed for the sound to stay in
Mm-hmm.
and make the stadium even louder. So you have a quarterback that I'm pretty sure that the play calls that Mike McDaniel's sending are long as hell. And then you got the swirling winds. It's right there on the Puget Sound. So you have just so many different elements that could adversely affect the guy who can't play off schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Like Tua's not going to make many plays outside the pocket. They're not going to roll them. Those certain elements that you need when you're on the road, where it's going to be hostile, guys are going to be turned up, and you're going to have to make a few plays off schedule. I think they could sneak a game like that away from Tua. But like that would be a great start going into Monday Night Football against Detroit. They come in there 3-0.
And they very well could. Like I said, if they are, as my Sean Hannity word, if they are the antithesis, of what I think they are, then yes, that is absolutely correct. But like I said, I think it's just a lot to ask for, in the first season, first time head coach. I think that there's just, some guys are naturals, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I find that to be few and far between sometimes, you know what I mean?
And it helps to get,
because we saw with
2 preseason games, week 1 and 2.
Yeah, we saw what DeMeco Ryans did last year, for example, you know what I mean? But, he didn't have to deal with Geno Smith.
But what DeMeco Ryans has is a good defensive coordinator coming in, good a couple of defensive draft picks. People might not be expecting much from you.
Well, that was the underrated part, because they were able to grab Will Anderson, in the top 5 as well.
And I think that's because of Arizona.
Yeah, that's because of Arizona. Yeah,
made the trade and made it happen. So, like I said, with Seattle, you get, like we argue, who has the worst quarterback situation, Denver, New England, or Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
They get them back-to-back weeks. Now, we know New England's defense can be tough. I saw a video of Jared Mayo. I guess Matthew Judon was out at practice, but he wasn't practicing.
Yeah, I posted that video. Yeah, they were arguing.
He just sent them off the field. So he could be somebody's trade deadline piece. So it might be a situation where you might look around at New England and they're like, you know what, we're not going to win at all here. And that could start early. Mm-hmm. People could literally be week 1, week 2, and be like, listen, we don't have an answer here. I'm not saying that about anyone's talent, like Drake May or anything else, but it's like, I just feel like those guys played defense last year. I think a couple of games they gave up less than 10 points and they lost them both. They're like, you can't have me go out here.
Oh, that game in England or Germany against the Colts.
When they did the fake spike after he bent, it's just like, it's only so much the pride of the name on the jersey.
It's only so much my psyche can handle.
Yeah, it's only so long if it does pretend, and it's like I can't keep pretending to want to be here. So, but I think as we get into the season, I'm saying it now, August 1st, Matthew Judon, I can see him being picked up by some team that's already good and it doesn't need another edge rusher, and he'll be out of that New England jersey.
All right, well, that's the NFC West. Next week we got 2 Norths to get into. And then, and then of course, what comes after that? College football previews. It's about that time. Week 0 is August 24th. Today is August 1st, in case you haven't looked at the calendar. So I know y'all used to me yelling and losing my voice and all that kind of stuff, but as college football gets a little bit closer, I might just be a little more milder, a little more tender. Florida State's first game in Ireland. I don't know who approved that shit, but whatever. Whatever.
They don't care about American fans at all.
I know. But you know what? He is the even kill.
UCF games.
Oh, yeah. UCF gets the Gators this year, by the way, too. He is the even kill, Mr. Logical. Do me a favor. Do not bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
Do me some more favors. Like, review, subscribe, share. Do all the free things. Do all the good things. Rate us. Do all those things for us. Tell grandma good night. We'll see you in a few days. Sports Reports is ordered. Peace.